Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining this stream. And many thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on or will watch this video in a recording. Today is 29th of May. Now it's 11 o'clock, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and hopefully you will find this episode informative and useful. Unfortunately, there was not a single donation during the previous 24 hours for this project, and therefore there was no questions or the commentaries that I can highlight out the news segment. And so I will end this stream after news. If of course, if there will be some super chat on Rumble, then I will react on it, of course, or some questions through support platforms during the stream itself, but I doubt about that. Anyways, let's start this live stream now. And first of all, let me give you this news from the Novosti that Russian Defense Ministry confirmed liberation of another two settlements. One is Zelenaye Polye in the DPR, and another one, Konstantinovka in the Sumy region. Let me show you on the map this settlement. So when it comes to Sumy region, Konstantinovka is a settlement right on the border with the Russian Federation. So this is the village, by the way, that is under full Russian control now. And Russian troops already created their move forward and created a sort of buffer zone right in front of settlement. So progress of special military operation continues in this area, and simultaneously we have reports that Vodolagi settlement, this one that you see on your screen, is also under full Russian control, although I have not seen Defense Ministry confirming that information yet. Maybe they will later on today. And when it comes to Zelenaye Polye, as you know, dear friends, there are quite a number of settlements that have similar names, and so one may be confused while hearing that Zelenaye Polye was liberated, because I reported about the liberation of Zelenaye Polye on a northern eastern flank of Pokrovsk-Minograd agglomeration a few days ago at least, and this is that settlement. But Defense Ministry is reporting not necessarily about that settlement, but I guess about this one, another Zelenaye Polye, which is located right next to border with Dnipropetrovsk region. We can call this area South Donetsk sector of the front line. So progress of their special military operation continues, and as I said, in every update, basically, Russian armed forces improving their positions literally on daily basis, even if Western ruling class love to talk about some sort of a stalemate, which is non-existent. Russian troops are improving their positions on daily basis on all the sectors of the front line. That's been said, let's continue with this news that, according to RIA Novosti, air defense systems on duty intercepted 48 drones that were launched by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO member states to strike deep into Russian territory. I can give you some more precise information on that. So 30 drones were destroyed, intercepted over the Belgorod region, in Oryol and Ryazan regions, as well as Crimea. 4 drones were neutralized. In Moscow region, 3 drones were intercepted, in Bryansk region 2, and in Tambov region 1. So as you can see, dear friends, Kiev regime and NATO countries continue to strike deep into Russian territory in the hopes that they will kill as many Russians as they possibly can. But air defense systems are doing their job quite well, and they are usually intercepting vast majority of drones that were launched by enemies to strike Russia. Also, this morning, this news broke that Russian official was killed in a suspected Ukrainian assassination. So, Russian government official who previously served in the Ukrainian conflict has been killed in a suspected assassination by the Ukrainian operatives in the southern city of Stavropol. Local authorities have reported, witnesses reported hearing a loud blast on Wednesday evening before discovering the bodies of 2 men in a residential neighborhood of the Russian city. On Thursday morning, Stavropol governor Vladimirov identified one of the deceased as Zaur Gurtsiev, a regional government employee. He said the investigators were considering as a possible scenario, including a terrorist attack organized by Nazis from Ukraine. Gurtsiev had entered the public service through a special program aimed at the training and employing veterans who served in Russia's military campaign against the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, and had demonstrated leadership qualities. According to his government profile, he had served as a deputy head of Stavropol, overseeing security and counter-terrorism. And videos are circulating, by the way, when a person is approaching official and then explosion is happening. According to information that I see in Russian segment of internet, this another person who approached Gurtsiev is Nikita Pinkov, and right at the point when he approached official, explosion happened, and now number of sources are speculating that this was a suicide bomb attack. Investigation is underway, of course, and I guess in upcoming hours maybe or days we will learn some more about this terrorist attack. While few details, according to RT, have been officially released, some media outlets have suggested that Gurtsiev and their second man might have been killed by a hand grenade while socializing outdoors. Subsequent reports based on CCTV footage showing the moment of the blast claimed that the second man was a suicide bomber, and if so, this is not the first time when Kiev regime, this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, is deploying suicide bombing attacks to kill public figures here in Russia. Just a few months ago, there was another suicide bomb attack in one of the residential areas when attacker, the suicide bomber, was also killed together with person that he was attacking. So Kiev regime clearly deploys all the arsenal that this CIA and MI6 created terrorist organizations were implementing worldwide. Suicide bombing, car bombing, and so on. Yet again, investigation is underway, and soon we will learn more details about this. Yet another terrorist attack of Zelensky's regime. Meanwhile, while Kiev is behaving like that, Zelensky, his criminal associates, and their Western backers, when they are killing Russians whenever they can, well, Moscow continues to be engaged in these useless talks with their Ukrainian terrorists and their Western backers. And for example, we have this report from RIA Novosti that second round of negotiations between Russia and their terrorist Ukraine or Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky will take place in Istanbul on June the 2nd. So the second round of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine will take place in Istanbul on June the 2nd. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated, Russian Foreign Minister, and there are a few more key points from his statements here. The Russian delegation headed by presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky is ready to present memorandum on a future peace treaty in Istanbul, stated Lavrov. He also went to say that the document contains all aspects for reliability, overcoming the root causes of the crisis in Ukraine. The Russian side is ready to explain them. Moscow also expects that those interested in success of their peace process will support a new round of negotiation. Yeah, of course, globalists are dreaming about peace. Russia thanks Turkey for providing a venue for these talks. So I guess now speculations will end about where exactly this second round of negotiations will take place. As you know, dear friends, there was statements from Western side that second round might take place in the Vatican, which was, this idea was dismissed straight away, because why would majority Orthodox Christian country, Russia, will participate in peace talks with at least formally another Orthodox Christian country, Ukraine. Although, by the way, as we all know, Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky has banned Orthodox Christianity in Ukraine and targeting Orthodox Christians, targeting Orthodox Christian churches. But anyways, why would Russia take part in negotiations in Vatican, which is an enemy of Orthodoxy, by the way, historically speaking? So that idea was dismissed straight away. And then aide of US President Kellogg stated that Geneva might be the place where the second round of negotiations might take place. Seems like Western ruling class globalists and their puppets in Washington and European capitals are very keen to move these talks from Turkey somewhere towards the west, because this is all their proposals: Vatican, Geneva, and then some other nonsensical places. And of course, Geneva was dismissed also because Russian officials were very clear, and on many occasions, that Russia no longer considers Switzerland to be a neutral state, because it is not, right? And today I'll give you news that once again confirms that Switzerland should not be perceived by anybody in this world as a neutral, because it is not. So speculations will end now. Second round of talks will take place in Istanbul. Of course, if globalists will not derail these talks, which might happen, of course. And also we have this report that Lavrov have briefed Rubio, head of US State Department, on Ukraine negotiations. I find it difficult to understand why Lavrov have to brief US official on anything, really. Is Russia under US control, or what is going on here? It's a legit question. Why? It's as far as I understand, these talks are between Moscow and Kiev. Why Russia has to brief Washington on anything? I mean, what the hell is going on here? It's wrong. But anyways, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov discussed Ukraine peace negotiations in a phone call with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, neocon criminal, obviously. According to the Russian Foreign Ministry, Lavrov briefed Rubio on concrete proposals for the next round of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul. Both sides affirmed their intent to maintain constructive and respectful dialogue. Yes, of course. I mean, Trump just, last several days insulted Russian people in numerous ways, right? And we have now this statement that both sides admitted their intent to maintain constructive and respectful dialogue. Okay, I see clearly, by the way, how respectful US leadership is, how respectful in quotes, by the way, how adequate. And, it is a shame that seems like Russian leadership sees things differently. Because otherwise, in no ways Russian side should agree such a statement to be released, that both sides affirm their intent to maintain constructive and respectful dialogue. Washington is definitely on this page, not on this page, right? Clearly, and US President and a number of other high-ranking officials are demonstrating this literally on a daily basis, that they have no respect for Russia, they have no respect for lives of Russian people, they don't think life of Russian citizen worth anything. And the US president said it openly, by the way, in his post just 2 days ago, right? So, you tell me what the hell is going on here, but I don't understand. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting, and by the way, I'm saying that this whole show that we are seeing now with these talks between Moscow and Washington, Moscow and Kiev, this is a shame, really. Because look what is happening. Look what is happening, by the way. Kiev regime, this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, is threatening head of Russian negotiating team, Medinsky, and his family, including kids, by the way, and all of them being put in the kill list of Kiev regime on that so-called peacemaker platform, including kids. And Moscow continues to talk with these terrorists and mass murderers. It's a shame. It's just a shame. That's what it is, man. The family of the Vladimir Medinsky, an advisor to the Russian president and head of Russian delegation at their Istanbul talks, was threatened by Ukrainian Nazis. Journalist Vladimir Solovyov reported this on air. The fact is that last few days, Vladimir Rostislavovich, his family, Medinsky's family, both their family itself and its relatives, both adult family members and the children, have been receiving threats of very specific content, which say that, and there is quote here, "We know where your children are, and we have a lot of stuffed scooters." And this is reference to Minder scooters that was also used by Kiev regime to assassinate people here in Russia, to kill people here in Russia. Hunting, and this quote continues, hunting at the series of terrorist, hinting at series of terrorist attacks that were carried out in exactly this way, as I just said, by the way. Solovyov stated during his show, according to journalists, the Ukrainian Nazis are opening a new page, and another quote, "Yes, in a world practice, responsibility for the life, health and the safety of negotiators always lies with their other side, the receiving side, if you will. There were cases when negotiators were threatened, and there were tragic cases, and they are well known, including in our history. Ukrainian Nazis took the next step. They went so far as to threaten family members, and when Vladimir Medinsky directly asked Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, who is head of Ukrainian delegation, Umerov admitted, Umerov stated that, and this is quote, "I will find out. I find out it is definitely not us," Umerov said. "Most likely it is our Nazis. We don't influence them." That was a response from Umerov, by the way, head of Ukrainian delegation in these talks, that he has no idea. It's not him or his inner circle. That is defense ministry, maybe he meant. It's the Nazis that they have no control of. That's how Umerov responded, by the way. I mean, how convenient, isn't it? They're all operating under the same umbrella, by the way. They're all controlled by CIA and MI6. So we know that originally behind this blackmail and behind these threats is CIA and MI6. They just use their proxies, their Ukrainian proxies, to conduct this terrorist criminal activity. But that's what is happening. Children of Medinsky were threatened by Zelensky's regime, and still Moscow continues to be engaged in talks with these terrorists, man. That is a terrorist regime in Washington, terrorist regime in London, terrorist regime in all the other NATO member states, and of course their proxies in Kiev. If you tell me, dear friends, if this makes any sense for you, when your enemy continues to kill as many of your citizens as they can, when your enemy continues to conduct terrorist activity, terrorist attacks on your people, including on your negotiators, and you are still engaged in talks with them. I mean, to me personally, this does makes no sense whatsoever. This is shameful. That's all I can say, man. This is just shameful. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Russia needs guarantees that conflict in Ukraine will not resume. Guarantees from whom? Question is. This is official statement from foreign ministry. I mean, I'm so confused, by the way, nowadays. I mean, last several days especially, when I'm watching, listening, hearing, reading statements of Russian officials. I mean, what's going on here? It's I don't know. So in the context of settling the conflict in Ukraine, Russia needs legally binding mechanisms that guarantee the impossibility of the resumption of the crisis. This was stated by the head of the Department of Partnership with Africa of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Tatiana Dovgalenko. Okay, I mean, she's official. I don't know why she's making this statement about Ukrainian crisis while she's responsible for relationships, partnerships with African countries. But anyways, this is a high-ranking official is making statements that Russia needs some guarantees. Guarantees from who, man? From Western ruling class? Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 was not enough to learn some lessons. Recent statements of Trump was not enough when he basically said openly that the lives of Russian citizens are worthless and means nothing. From whom you want any guarantees, for God's sake, man? What are you talking about? And this freaking nonsense. Just walk away. And don't make yourself be laughingstock, for God's sake, man. World is watching, isn't it? And probably are also confused because, I mean, what the hell, man? What is going on here? And by the way, also these days I noticed, I don't know if you will agree with me or not, but I did notice that there is some sort of attempt on the part of Russian public figures, even high-ranking officials, to sort of downgrade aggression that is coming from the White House, including statements of US President Donald Trump, and to shift public's attention to some other topics. And I will demonstrate now what I mean. For example, as we all know, dear friends, and I reported about it, Donald Trump, went to go on assault spree towards, Russian president, towards Russia, Russian citizens. He went to then threaten all of us, and continues to do so, by the way. And you might be surprised, but I did not see on any mainstream media here in Russia quotes from Trump's statement when he called the Russian president crazy. Maybe I missed something there, but I did not see this on RIA Novosti. I did not see it on TASS news agency. I did not see it on many other media outlets. I see it on English version of the Artida, but I'm not sure if they published very same news in Russian too. And maybe vast majority of public here in Russia is even unaware that Trump was, openly calling Russian president crazy, right? Which is insulting, obviously. And maybe majority of people unaware that Trump was saying that Russian retaliatory strikes were, unreasonable, right? Which means basically that according to Trump, Russian lives are worthless. They're nothing. And if Ukrainians kill Russian citizens, it's okay. But Russia should not fire back. That was a Trump statement. And many Russian MSM, mainstream media outlets, ignore this, right? And also, there is kind of some attempt to downgrade these extremely aggressive statements from Trump. And for example, look at the statements of Lavrov here. Trump is getting filtered information on Ukraine conflict. Said Lavrov, let's go for details. I mean, US President Donald Trump is being misled about the Ukraine conflict by those pushing Washington towards supporting the Kiev regime and taking a more aggressive stance on Russia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has stated. Lavrov's remarks on Wednesday followed in response to Trump's latest criticism of Moscow. The US president rebuked Russia twice this week over strikes on Ukraine, claiming that President Vladimir Putin has gone absolutely crazy and was, as I said, RT reported in its English version, by the way, what Trump said. But, Russian language media that I monitor last several days, I mean, if I did not miss it, which is hardly possible. I mean, how could I miss on every platform? And, Russian language media was not that specific while reporting on Trump statements. Anyways, Let's continue. So that the US president rebuked Russia twice this week over strikes on Ukraine, claiming that President Vladimir Putin has gone absolutely crazy and was launching missiles and drones into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. Trump later warned that Russian leader was playing with fire. Responding to a question from journalist Pavel Zarubin, Lavrov said, "One thing is clear, Donald Trump and those who actually make decisions regarding the Ukraine conflict in particular are not being told everything. The information Trump, is given is filtered through a sieve which is prepared by those who want to draw America into more aggressive action against Russia in support of Kiev regime," Lavrov added. And you know what difference does it make for us, for Russia, if Trump is getting full information or not? He said what he said, right? He insulted Russia, insulted Russian people, insulted Russian president. And you as a Russian foreign minister, is trying to explain this stuff instead of saying that, Trump, you should shut the fuck up. I mean, I know you are a diplomat. I'm talking about Lavrov. I mean, he's a diplomat, and he's, he always gonna be careful with his language. Okay, I get that, but for God's sake, you are attempting to explain why Trump is acting this crazy. This is sort of attempt, as far as I can tell, this is attempt to downgrade importance of a shift in rhetoric in the White House. And by the way, I don't think this is some sort of, confusion on part of Trump. This is a part of his policies and policies of the neocons that are in control of White House, right? They wanted some time, right? They wanted to gain some time before they will prepare next phase of escalation in Russia. That's why they push hard to initiate these useless talks, right? But now they are ready for whatever they have prepared to strike Russia, to further escalate. And they are changing rhetoric. That's what is happening. I'm 100% convinced on that. And if Lavrov sees it otherwise, then, I have a bridge in central London and I can sell it to him, And it's not just Lavrov, by the way. Unfortunately, there are more people that are playing same game. And for example, presidential aide Ushakov also went in the very same direction. Trump underinformed on Ukrainian strikes against Russian civilians, top Putin aide is stating. So US President Donald Trump is apparently unaware of Ukrainian terrorist attacks on Russian civilians that prompted retaliation from Moscow. Yuri Ushakov, a top foreign policy advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin, has suggested Trump has rebuked. I mean, I already said what he was saying. In an interview released on Wednesday, Ushakov told the journalist Pavel Zarubin, also, this Pavel Zarubin is everywhere, I don't know what's going on there, that the Kremlin is aware of Trump's criticism, but suggested that the US president is not sufficiently informed about what is really happening in the context of Russia-Ukraine confrontation. And okay, I mean, why you are saying this? Why you are sort of justifying or trying to explain, if not justifying, maybe that's a wrong word, but why you are trying to explain, inadequate behavior of Trump? It's not your job, for God's sake, right? I don't know. Share your take, dear friends, in the comment section, what you think about all this stuff. But I find it strange. I really find it strange that it's not the White House press spokesman that is trying to explain what Trump meant. And no, it's Russian officials that are trying to explain what Trump said and why he said it. Some anomaly, by the way. I mean, I'm losing understanding of this whole developments. But anyways, you might find also interesting that since Trump began deploying this extremely aggressive rhetoric, like 3 days ago, isn't it? There was no large or relatively large-scale Russian drone and missile strikes on Kiev-controlled territory, on military and the logistical infrastructure of Russian enemies, which is also interesting. I mean, maybe coincidence, or maybe Trump's threats are actually working, and I don't know, maybe US has some leverage over Russian leadership that we are not aware about. I don't know. But for the last 3 days, I mean, I'm monitoring media outlets, right, on regular basis. I'm preparing updates constantly, and I have not seen reports about even relatively large-scale Russian drone and missile strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, which is, could be coincidence. Things happen, but maybe it's not coincidence, and maybe Moscow is listening to Trump and they're acting according to Trump's orders. I don't know. You tell me what is happening. Or maybe Moscow is trying to not anger Trump anymore. I mean, wow. How we end up in this situation, man? I wonder. Anyways, meanwhile, dear friends, US continues to do what US does, right? To threaten, bully, and act inadequate. And for example, we have this statement from a representative of US State Department that Washington is ready to further apply maximum pressure on Russia. So US President Donald Trump is prepared to apply maximum pressure on Russia if Ukraine peace talks fail to produce results. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce has told the Fox News, and your guess is best as good as mine what they mean by results, what they expect that these talks will deliver. Do they expect Russian capitulation or what? Because clearly West is on offensive, right? Not just in rhetorical terms. They're not just talking too much crap in direction of Russia, but they are expanding military aid to Kiev regime, including with the long-range weapon systems, right? And threatening more and more, potentially, more and more people here in Russia, tens of millions actually, because in range of long-range weapon systems that soon could be deployed against Russia is actually vast areas of the Russian Federation. So, well, quite confusing developments, isn't it, when it comes to all these Moscow-Washington talks, Moscow-Kiev talks? Strange, very strange. Let's see what will come out of it. It's a useless waste of time, in my personal opinion, because no matter how much Putin wants to find working, relationships with Trump, no matter how much he wants to see real de-escalation, it will not happen, by the way. West wants to destroy Russia. US political class, including Trump, by the way, they want Russia to be destroyed and all Russians to be killed, exterminated, literally. That's what they dream about, right? And they are not even hiding this, for God's sake. They are not even hiding this. Just look carefully what they are saying, by the way. It's all out there in open, right? So they are existential threat for Russia, and no matter how hard Putin wants to see the escalation, and I believe he wants to see the escalation, by the way. I believe he never wanted to go as far as he did when he authorized special military operation. Probably he was very hopeful that Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 would work. He was looking for some ways to normalize relationships with the West, always, by the way, since he is in the power. And I guess he's still struggling to realize that West will never accept Russia. Never, ever. It's just not happening. West is existential threat for Russia. And they will continue attempts to destroy Russia. to kill as many Russian citizens as they possibly can and to harm them as much as they can. It's just so simple, man. It's out there. You don't have to guess nothing, right? Anyways, let's see. By the way, I mean, after all, it is logical to think that everything that has its beginning probably has its end also, and I think patience and restraint of Putin also has a end, right? And at one point, he will probably say that enough is enough. He tried everything, and their only option now is to really be focused on special military operation and to do whatever is need to be done to defeat enemies of Russia decisively and to secure Russia from this constant threat that collective West is presenting. It's going to happen, by the way, one day, but it seems like there is still, is this confusion in the Kremlin also, or the hope that they might actually normalize relationships with West. No, they cannot. It's just nonsense. It cannot be done. Not now, not in 10 years, not in 50 years, not in 100 years. Take a look at the history, by the way. Western countries will always try to destroy Russia. They are fixated on that. And this fixation goes from generation to generation to generation to generation. That's how Western so-called elites operate for centuries, right? And it's not going to change. Hello, everyone. I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.